Frontier AI just got a major infrastructure upgrade, landing right where most enterprise data lives. We're also talking about a 6-day deadline from the EU that could impact your product immediately, new security capabilities for models, and what it all means for builders who need to ship real products, not just chase hype. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host Vikash Sharma, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. Alright, let's dive into this week's high signal items. First up, a big one. Anthropic's Claude Opus 5 just launched on AWS Bedrock with zero data retention enabled by default. Now, this is a significant move. Previously, getting access to the absolute frontier tier Claude models often meant using Anthropic's direct API or specific integrations. But now Opus 5 is natively on Amazon Bedrock, which is where a huge chunk of enterprise data and workloads already reside. In plain English, this means if you're already an AWS customer, you can plug into one of the most powerful reasoning models out there without having to shift your entire platform or worry about data egress. So for builders, the interesting part isn't just the model's performance, which is positioned to match the top tier Claude Fable 5 in many areas, but the built-in enterprise privacy, especially with that default zero data retention. This lowers a major compliance barrier for regulated industries, making it much easier to deploy sophisticated agentic workflows while maintaining critical data safeguards. Next, staying with Opus 5, Anthropic's model is flagging vulnerabilities and actively blocking exploit generation by design. Security Week and Cybersecurity News both reported on this, noting that Opus 5 is approaching Mythos 5 in its ability to identify software vulnerabilities. But here's the clever bit. It's engineered with safety classifiers that block the creation of actual exploits. If you try to prompt it for high-risk exploit generation, it'll fall back to an earlier, safer model, Opus 4.8. For builders, this is a game changer if you're working in AppSec or secure SDLC. You can potentially use a frontier model like Opus 5 for automated security scanning within your CI/CD pipelines, confident that you're getting high signal vulnerability identification without the vendor carrying the risk of it being misused to generate harmful code. It gives you a clearer vendor-backed posture for applying powerful AI in security reviews, potentially offsetting some first-pass costs in your development lifecycle. Also, prepare yourselves. The EU AI Act Digital Omnibus just entered into force, setting a 6-day disclosure clock for AI-generated content. Tech Times, Stephenson Harwood, and Lewis Silkin all highlighted this. Regulation EU 2026-1744 officially took effect today, and it comes with an accelerated transparency requirement. Any AI-generated content you produce for EU-facing audiences must be disclosed by August 2, 2026. Yes, that's just 6 days from now. Furthermore, nudifier apps which manipulate images are explicitly banned starting in December 2026. For builders, this isn't a future problem, it's an immediate one. If your product generates any content that's seen by EU users, be it text, images, or audio, you need to implement clear disclosure labels now. Non-compliance carries penalties, and this deadline removes all ambiguity. It also sets clear boundaries for what kind of content is prohibited, which helps immensely with product roadmap decisions and risk assessment. Moving on, we've got some guidance for team building. The government-backed SKAI program has issued its AI Workforce Playbook. Indexbox reported on this. The Skills for AI program, or SKAI, has published comprehensive guidance. This isn't just generic advice. It includes evidence-based frameworks, real-world case studies, and something called the PRIMES framework for inclusive hiring in AI roles. What this means for builders is that you now have a public standardized roadmap for how to intentionally build diverse and skilled AI teams. For founders and engineering leaders, this offers structured approaches to hiring, training, and retaining talent in a highly competitive field. It can also provide a solid framework to support investor narratives around your team design and commitment to inclusion, which is increasingly important. And finally, for the open source folks, a lightweight tool is simplifying downloads of the Kimi K3 model. This appeared on GitHub. The new utility called Kimi Fetch is a tiny 65 kilobyte binary that makes it super easy to download the Kimi K3 model. Kimi K3, for those who missed it, is a non-Western frontier model that just launched on July 16, 2026. The rapid emergence of community tooling like Kimi Fetch signals a broader trend. For builders, this is fantastic because it enables quick, friction-free prototyping and experimentation with powerful open-weight models from diverse sources. It underscores a growing standardization and ease of distribution for these cutting-edge models, meaning you don't need a huge DevOps team just to get started experimenting with them on your local machine or smaller cloud instances. It democratizes access to powerful AI. Now, out of these stories, the one that really stands out for its immediate and strategic impact on builders is Claude Opus 5 landing on AWS Bedrock. This isn't just another model release, it's a fundamental shift in how frontier AI becomes accessible and usable in existing enterprise infrastructure. What happened is straightforward. Anthropic's top-tier Claude Opus 5 model is now generally available on Amazon Bedrock. The critical detail here is the default zero data retention or ZDR, which means none of your input or output data is stored for model training. This capability isn't just an add-on, it's a default baked-in feature of the integration, signaling a clear understanding of enterprise needs. Why this matters right now is all about deployment friction and trust. For years, the bleeding edge of AI has often been accessed through proprietary APIs, which sometimes raised questions about data privacy and vendor lock-in, especially for larger organizations or those in regulated sectors like healthcare or finance. By bringing Opus 5 directly into AWS Bedrock, Amazon and Anthropic have effectively removed a huge deployment hurdle. It means you can leverage frontier class reasoning and agentic capabilities directly within your existing AWS environment. This accelerates the commoditization at the model layer, pushing the real value further up the stack into the applications and custom workflows that builders create. It simplifies the pipeline from a powerful model to a deployed product, especially for those sensitive workloads. So, who should really care about this? The founders should absolutely care. This streamlines your path to integrating sophisticated AI features that require high privacy. It means you can build complex AI driven products without rebuilding your entire data infrastructure or navigating tricky compliance approvals for a new platform. Want to build an AI agent for financial advice or a legal assistant? This makes it far more viable. Product managers need to pay close attention. This lowers the barrier for introducing high impact AI features into your roadmap. You can now consider agentic features that were previously too risky due to data privacy concerns or too complex to integrate into an AWS centric stack. It opens up new product opportunities within existing enterprise boundaries. Infrastructure and platform engineers should definitely care. It simplifies your workload management. You're not trying to bridge a gap between your AWS data lakes and an external AI API. The model is right there, accessible through familiar AWS services. This means less data movement, potentially lower latency, and easier security management. Even caught indie hackers on AWS might find this interesting. While the cost might be higher for volume, for prototyping or building high value niche applications that require enterprise grade privacy, this offers a powerful tool without needing complex custom setups. How I think about it as a builder, it's like this. Imagine you've been developing on a robust, secure, and familiar server farm that you own. Suddenly, a brand new, incredibly powerful supercomputer gets installed right there in your server farm, and it comes with a guarantee that it won't snoop on your data. That's what Opus 5 on Bedrock with ZDR means. The opportunities here are immense for building agentic features, creating hyper personalized experiences, or automating complex analytical tasks where data privacy is paramount. You can now consider using AI to process sensitive customer data, medical records, or proprietary business information with a much higher degree of confidence than before. The main risks are, of course, cost. Opus 5 is a frontier model, so expect Opus tier pricing, which can add up for high volume usage. Also, remember that ZDR is about privacy from model training, not a blanket security guarantee for your application. You still need robust security practices around your data and prompts. What to ignore? Don't get caught up in the hype that this is a magical AGI breakthrough that solves all problems. It's a powerful tool, but its immediate impact is primarily practical, simplifying deployment and expanding the types of workloads that can safely leverage frontier AI within existing trusted cloud environments. My no BS take on this is clear. This move isn't just incremental, it's strategically significant. It democratizes access to true frontier AI for the enterprise by removing the biggest blockers of compliance and infrastructure friction. The value now shifts even more definitively towards those who can build smart, useful applications on top of these powerful models. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, especially given that 6-day clock from the EU, here it is. Action. Add EU AI content disclosures to your product now. Yeah, by EA. This isn't something you can push off. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes starting today. 1. Identify AI generated touchpoints. First, take 15 minutes to quickly list every single user facing feature in your product that currently generates content using AI, whether it's text, images, recommendations, or even sophisticated summaries. Think broadly about what a user might perceive as AI generated. 2. Design and implement a clear label. Spend another 30 minutes to design a very clear, unambiguous disclosure label. This could be a small AI generated tag, an icon with a tooltip, or a short disclaimer next to the generated content. Make sure it's prominent and easy for a user to understand. Implement this for at least one critical high visibility feature that impacts EU users. 3. Test internally and plan rollout. In your remaining 15 minutes, do a quick internal test. Get a small group of colleagues to interact with the feature and ask if the disclosure is clear and sufficient. Use this feedback to refine your approach and plan a full rollout well before the August 2 deadline. Why this specific experiment is worth your time right now is simple: compliance. The EU AI Act Digital Omnibus isn't a suggestion, it's law with real penalties for non-compliance. Meeting this August 2 deadline for transparency isn't just about avoiding fines, it's about building trust with your users and demonstrating that your product is designed with responsible AI principles in mind. It sets a precedent for how you handle AI governance going forward, making future compliance efforts smoother. Get this foundational piece right, and you're well positioned for what comes next. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.